So we're going to go over the 5 tips to maximize your HSA.
Welcome, my name's John Convery, and Michael and I are delighted you've decided to join us for this edition of Retire Yesterday, Live Today. The whole show is about raising your financial awareness to help you thrive in retirement, not just survive. And today we're going to talk about a subject dear to a lot of people's heart, near and dear. It's something that's trending in the news media, and everybody that's concerned about their nickels and dimes are always concerned about this lightning rod issue. Right, Mike?
Yes, John is absolutely right. We are actually talking about it on this week's upcoming radio show because it is a loophole that many Americans are starting to find so they can save more money for their retirement, and that is a health savings account. So we're going to go over the 5 tips to maximize your HSA, starting with tip number 1, and that is, John, many people don't understand the benefits of a health savings account.
Well, it's a great way to put money away, up to $6,750 for a marital couple, a way to put it away tax deferred, but you get a tax deduction first, so it lowers by a smidgen your current taxable income. That's always in style. Number 2, the money grows tax deferred and can be used for diagnostic tests, pharmacy, prescription medications, eyeglass, vision care, etc. Things that normally are not covered under most insurance plans, or if they are, there's an inflammatorily high deductible. You know, we see people today with deductibles for an individual of $7,400 a year under the Affordable Care Act. I'm just saying. So at the end of the day, it's a great way to get a tax deduction. You're incentivized to put the money away. It can be used for qualified medical expenses. And get this, if you're over age 65, there comes a point in time where if you're healthy because you've pursued wellness, good fitness and nutrition, and are anointed with good health, at the end of the day, you can withdraw money, a harvest of sorts, put those shekels in your pocket and use it for whatever you want, a Mediterranean cruise or whatever indulgence or necessity you have in your retirement life.
Yes, absolutely. And tip number 2 is an easy one because many people don't even do this with their 401ks, but you want to contribute the maximum you can when you utilize an HSA because you are going to get a lot more towards your retirement dollars.
That's right. It's even more powerful than a Roth because it has the tax deductibility of putting money in pre-tax to a 401k, and it has the tax-free growth and the ability to exit tax-free like a Roth. Now, some of you listening to me, you wouldn't qualify for a Roth because your adjusted gross income is too high. I won't get into those limitations, but this can be your pseudo, your adjunct or Roth alternative, a great way to supplement your retirement savings.
Yes, that is absolutely right. You always want to supplement your retirement savings every which way you can so you can thrive in retirement, not just survive. And tip number 3 in a healthcare savings account, out of the 5 tips we're going over today, tip number 3 is you need to know what expenses are eligible because some things are tax-free, such as out-of-pocket medical expenses, your deductible, and co-payments, but other things are not covered and you may be required to pay taxes and a 20% penalty before age 65 for non-medical expenses. So you got to make sure you know what is eligible in order to maximize that HSA. We're going to get into tip number 4 right now, John, and that is to be an informed healthcare consumer because many people don't know the best way to go about even getting their health care.
Well, you know, healthcare is very expensive and convoluted, and it's an opaque system. You really can't see what's behind the dark black veil. And what I mean by that is you go, and many people go for medical procedures that are reimbursed by their insurance, but there's no negotiation on the settlement or what the physician's going to get paid or what the diagnostic test is going to cost. We have no idea. And that is one of the reasons that health insurance is so ridiculously expensive. Another reason is the cost of compliance and oversight and regulation, which I think needs to be scaled back. We need certainly a more competitive system, and I think some people, even legislators, have advocated the idea of national health savings accounts being subsidized for even poorer working class or underclass American citizens. But at the end of the day, you really do need to take advantage of this type of opportunity because, you know, at the end, you're looking for ways to manage with efficacy your expenses, and a health savings account is certainly a good opportunity to take advantage of that and thread the eye of the needle.
Yes, and touching on being an informed healthcare consumer, I know a lot of people don't know there's options out there. We talk about it a little bit later in the week, but I want to touch base on it right now as well because I personally love my new healthcare plan, and many people don't know it even exists.
Well, that's right. And what Michael's talking about is alternatives to insurance. In a segment I did, just our tip of the week, I talked about this, alternatives to insurance. I'm a big advocate of asking a better reasoned quality of question. Because if you ask a better question, as Tony Robbins said, who's a master at doing this, you can begin the epiphany or the process of discovering a better answer. See, most people will say, John, I can't afford long-term care insurance. What makes you think that long-term care insurance is the only suitable
That is the wrong question.
option? The better question is, what can I do? Phrasing that positively so you have jurisdictional control. What can I do, empowering, to cover and protect my family from the financial carnage that can happen due to an unattended healthcare crisis without buying insurance? Until you ask the right quality of question, you can find no solution. That's the truth. Asking a better quality of question. So here's a quality of question. How can you protect yourself without necessarily buying exchange coverage through the Obamacare exchanges if you're 63 or 64 and don't yet qualify for Medicare? There are a few options, and here's one, not a recommendation, an opinion of sorts, just an awareness for you. There are companies out there like Liberty Share that offer not health insurance, but memberships to share one another's burdens. It's not called insurance because if it was, it would be subject to onerous oversight and regulatory process. But number two, it's exempt from the Obamacare mandate, so you're not suffering the penalty associated for refusing or being a holdout and not buying insurance. Number three, since there's no Aetna or My Florida Blue involved, there's no profit incentive because it's a 501c3 tax exempt. There's no profit for shareholders. You automatically squeeze that portion of what would be the cost out. And the two other facts are, if you're in the Obamacare exchanges, everybody in there gets subsidized if they're poor, so you have to bear your share of that burden, and you're basically picking up all the pre-existing conditions of people that have, sadly, and I say this with great sympathy and empathy, manifest health problems. But why should you have to pick up a large part of that expense? Do you know, in my opinion, a single woman, a married woman, or a single woman, age 36, let's say with one child making $35,000 a year, she has to bear that expense. She gets no subsidy. There are millionaires. I had one in my office the other day. Their premium's $1,300 a month. They only pay $328 because they're subsidized as a millionaire. It is not a fair system. So at the end of the day, Liberty Share, not a recommendation, is a tax-exempt third-party administrator. They just allocate the money. Who has need and no profit incentive. You've gotten out of the Obamacare exchanges. Here's an example. I had a person tell me she's retiring from NICU. She's a registered nurse, but she's exhausted. She's entering retirement, but she's only 62. And she told me about it. She said, I'm paying $199 a month. I've researched this for over a year. I can choose any doctor. My deductible, which I have to keep invoices for, just like with health savings accounts, record and send them through to Liberty for processing, is only $500 a year, and it's unlimited coverage. I have the freedom of choice. I'm exempt from the Obamacare penalties. I can reasonably pay $199 a month. It was going to cost me $900 a month otherwise, and that creates an elegant bridge for me to cross over from age 62 up to 65 when I can go on Medicare. Wow! That's a smart woman. I learned something from her research and shepherding through that process. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's true. Don't we all learn best lessons from somebody else's experience? It's less painful. I mean, I could take a hard knock myself, but I'd rather study from a master that's gone down that path before, that got beat up multiple times and saying, John, caution, let me show you how you can sidestep this if you have enough humility to follow some of the wisdom I can lay before you. So hopefully you get something out of this program, but that was a lot of stuff I packed in there.
Absolutely. I just let John roll with that one.
You gotta let me roll because there's no real in the end.
It is time to take some baby steps.
Baby steps? Baby steps. Baby steps.
And
baby steps to the door.
Like the show below,
Baby
because
steps.
that is a lot of great information. We are going to get into tip number 5, and John briefly mentioned it while he was going on that rant, and that is you need to keep your receipts when it comes to your healthcare savings accounts, because guess what? just like anything else, the IRS loves to audit people. I'm
That's
going to
right.
head on out of the show because John is just on a roll. So I will see you guys next week, and I'm going to let John close out
Thanks,
the show.
Mike. Great
Peace
job.
out.
And yeah, keep those receipts, folks, because you have to have a record of the qualifying expense. Certain expenses are not qualified to be covered under the health savings account. And if the IRS ever red flags you for an audit, you want to be able to have a defensible position. But at the end of the day, it's always a privilege to be with you. I'm so passionate about what Michael and I are bringing forth through the televised YouTube edition of Retire Yesterday, Live Today. And as I always love to do, even on our radio program, at the end of the day, I love to lead out with this paraphrase of the old Irish prayer. May I share this with you? All right, thank you. Thank you very, very much. It goes like this. May the wind always be gently at your back. May the sun shine warmly on your face. May the misty low road rise up to meet the high road. And until our paths meet again, my friend, may God anoint you with good health, richly bless you, and have a magnificent day. Goodbye now.